Good evening all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You're very welcome to the 2021 Go Ahead Dublin Senior Championship draws. Here with me, Marcus O'Buckley, delighted to be here on DubsTV of a beautiful Monday evening. And I have former Dublin star David O'Callaghan with me as well, who's going to give us reaction to the draws as they unfold. In Parnell Park, we also have Mick Sievers, who's the county chairman, and we also have Ken O'Sullivan, who's the chairman of the Adult CCC. And they're going to conduct a draw in Parnell Park for us. And as that draw unfolds, as I said, myself and Dotsy will give reaction as it plays out. The format is going to be relatively straightforward. We're going to start off with the Senior A Hurling Championship for 2021. We're then going to do the draw for the Senior B Hurling Championship for 2021. And then later on, off camera, we will also have the draws for the intermediate and the junior, and we will put them up on your screen later on in the evening as well. To give a quick rundown of the Senior A Hurling Championship draw, there's 16 teams, there's 4 groups of 4, but 4 teams are seeded. Those 4 teams are Ballyboden St Enda's, Coola, Lucan Sarsfields, and finally Na Fianna. So those 4 clubs will be first out. They'll be seeded number 1 in each of groups 1, 2, 3 and 4, and after that we'll go into the rest of the drum and pull them out. Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll go again for teams 3 into teams 4, and that will complete our groups 1 to 4 for the Senior A Hurling Championship, sponsored by Go Ahead. So, gentlemen, Mick and Ken, if you can start us off, please, and start off with the 4 seeded teams, and which of those 4 teams goes into Group 1, please?
First team out, Na Fianna.
Lovely stuff. So Na Fianna go in as the top seeds into Group 1. And we move on to Group 2 now. And who will be the second seeded team?
Lucan Sarsfields.
Lucan Sarsfields go in as number 1 seeds in Group 2. And now we move on to Group 3.
Coola.
Coola into Group 3. And finally into Group 4. Should be fairly straightforward.
Ballyboden St Enda's.
Lovely stuff. So there we have it, our top seeds in groups 1, 2, 3 and 4. And now we go in and it is a straight draw to draw out the remaining 3 teams in each of groups 1, 2, 3 and 4. So starting again with Group 1, please. Na Fianna top seeds, who's joining them in Group 1?
Whitehall Colmkill.
Moving on to Group 2, please. Joining Lucan Sarsfields.
Setanta.
Setanta into Group 2 with Lucan Sarsfields in there already as top seeds. Into Group 3.
Kilmacud Crokes.
That's a tasty enough Southside clash there between Coola and Kilmacud Crokes, 2 teams that know each other very well over the last couple of years, of course. And finally into Group 4, who going in with Ballyboden St Enda's.
St Oliver Plunkett. St Oliver Plunkett.
St Oliver Plunkett into Group 4 with Ballyboden St Enda's. Now we go back to Group 1, and who will be joining Na Fianna and Whitehall
St John.
And if you could just repeat that, please. Ballantyre St John, correct? Lovely. And into Group 2?
St Jude's.
St Jude's into Group 2 with Lucan and Setanta. To Group 3?
Thomas Davis.
And to Group 4, please.
Fogs.
Fogs, lovely. And now for our final 4 teams into Groups 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we go to Group 1 again, please.
Grave Kieran.
Group 2, please.
St Vincent's.
Group 3, please.
St Bridget's.
And finally to Group 4.
Scully Connell.
Excellent, Mick. Excellent, Ken. Thank you so much. That is the 4 groups that we have for the Go Ahead Senior A Hurling Championship for 2021. Dotsy O'Callaghan, you've been scribbling away furiously, as have I. Groups 1, 2, 3 and 4. Which of those 4 groups, I suppose, immediately stands out? I know I'll put the parish hat on me here. Chemical Crokes and Coola in Group 3 certainly stood out for me.
Yeah, I suppose, Marcus. that jumps out straight away. All right, yeah. So obviously two teams who know each other very well and are always kind of tight, tense games. Even when Coola are at their pomp, Kilmacud would always, whenever they play, it's kind of really, really close. So that's an interesting one as well. And obviously you've got Bridget's thrown into that group as well, and Thomas Davis as well. So Bridget's have been county finalists recently. Will really be keen to kick on again this year as well, and maybe get out of the group stages. So that's what it'll be about for a lot of the teams here, just getting out of the group stages and really trying to gear up and get into a quarter final. So it's a tough group on Thomas Davis's again, but they'll be delighted to be up in Senior A hurling and taking on the big guns as well. So yeah, that probably stands out a little bit as well. So you've obviously got Nafina, Whitehall, Ballantyre, Craig Kieran in Group 1. So Nafina, hugely, I looked at all their games last year. They were very impressive. Fell a bit flat in the semi-final when people were kind of expecting them to kick on and maybe, take down Ballybowden and an experienced Ballybowden team. But Ballybowden showed all their experience.
Can I ask you there, Dotsy, what do you think Nafina are maybe missing? Because, I mean, they've had the underage success, but just still not quite taking that next step at senior level. Obviously, you mentioned that semi-final last year, but what are they missing in terms of taking that next step, do you think?
Yeah, that's it, Marcus. Sometimes you just have to kind of take the defeats, and even say Ballybowden, who bet them last year, they were knocking on the door for a long, long time as well, and they couldn't get over the line as well. So it's the experience, but there's no guarantee in sport either that it's just going to happen. So they really, really have to, in the next year or two, they really, really have to kick on and reach a final and push on. So, I know there's huge efforts going on with the hurling there, and Neil O'Callaghan, I know well, and they're putting a massive effort into it. So they'll be very, very keen to get back up to that level. Yeah. So you've Whitehall as well there as well. They have a lot of dual players. Had a great display against Jude's last year. So they'll be trying to push on as well, and Craig Kieran obviously as well. Traditionally really, really strong. Are always capable of coming through, hitting a bit of form, and challenging to get out of the group as well. Yeah. So.
The final group then, Group 4, Dotsy and Ballybowden in there. I mean, again, they're one of the top 4 seeds, so no surprises that people will be keeping a very close eye on them again. But maybe, is it unfair to maybe say that legs cut them out a little bit in the end? I mean, if you talk about the lack of experience that Nafina have, Ballybowden certainly have plenty of experience, but maybe just the years catching up with them a little bit last year.
Yeah, in fairness to them, they did hurl reasonably well in the final as well, in fairness, but I suppose Coola just were starting to come into a bit of form as well, and they were just they just had a little bit on them as well. So look, they done very well last year. They were showing form as well. They've got a fresh management team in as well this year, so I'm sure there'll be a fresh impetus with that group as well. So they'll always be there or thereabouts. Plunkett's and Fogs and Scully Connell as well. So Plunkett's is a really, really good minor team last year, so I don't think they got to play the final, but they're a really top team. A lot of quality players coming through as well, so they're edging up as well, and they'll be trying to kick on as well. And Fogs obviously got out of the group last year as well, so they'll be trying to get back to that level, quarter-final stage, and maybe put in a better performance than they did last year. So
now that's the Senior A Hurling Championship draw, sponsored by Go Ahead. Sorted for the coming weeks and months, and obviously we can't wait to get started with that. But we also have the Senior B Hurling Championship draw coming for you here. The format for this will be 12 teams, and we've got 3 groups of 4. And similar to the Senior A, the way we will draw this will be that the first team out will go into Group 1, second team Group 2, third team Group 3, etc. So without further ado, I'd ask Mick and Ken to get us underway there in Parnell Park.
Okay, for Raheny.
So Raheny into Group 1. Across we go to Group 2, please.
Round Towers, Clondalkin.
Round Towers, Clondalkin into Group 2. Back we go to Group 1, please.
Clontarf.
Crumlin.
Crumlin into Group 2 with Round Towers, Clondalkin. Back to Group 1 again.
Naomh Barróg.
Kilmacud Crokes.
Ballybowden St. Enders.
Now Fionbarra.
Castleknock.
Coola.
Nafiana.
And the final team to be drawn out for the Senior B Hurling Championship 2021, sponsored by Go Ahead, is O'Toole's. Dotsy, back to you again. Again, just an immediate reaction to those three groups, and I suppose with your managerial hat on you as well. I know you'll be taking the plunge with St. Olave's this year and different challenges ahead of you, but there's 12 managers at home now looking at that, and what are they going to make of it?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, a lot of the teams I know from playing against a lot of the teams as well. They're it's very even. There's a lot of teams that put a lot of work in the last few years in trying to get up the ranks in hurling. So there's a lot of teams striving to get up there and have done massive work. It's very hard. I wouldn't be jumping out and calling a winner here, to be honest with you, because I know the way it goes and results will vary all throughout the groups as well. So again, it'll be just trying to get the teams. They'll be just focused on trying to get out of the group. And I suppose when you can get out of that group and then you can really look forward to knockout stages, that's what teams will be trying to get back to. Obviously, Finbar's had a great win in this last year, and a great dual win with the football as well. So they'll be thereabouts. I know Round Towers are putting massive work in as well, and Castleknock. So look, Nave Barrog are trying to get back up there as well. So as I said, I just think it's very evenly matched, Marcus, there. So it's just I just think any of the teams will be very confident, and it's just who can get on a bit of a run, and as I said, get out of the group stages and maybe hit a bit of form at the right time as well. But look, it's great to have the league games, and I know I'm managing Olaves this year coming into it, so everyone is happy to have the league games over the summer to prepare teams and kind of get themselves right, and kind of in preparation for the championship as well. So yeah, I suppose I won't be calling any winners there, Marcus. I'll let you call that.
One thing that we missed hugely, Dotsy, was obviously supporters in Parnell Park last year, and as much as it was great to have DubsTV, for example, as a service, things are starting to brighten up, and we're looking forward to having supporters, family and friends in to see all the championship action across the county over the coming weeks and months.
Absolutely, Marcus. Yeah, with a challenge game with the Nave Olive hurlers there during the week, and a lot of the parents were there, and you could see the buzz around people just being around games and stuff like that. So look, it's fabulous to have it back, and it's great just to be out on the field training away and kind of looking forward to matches and games as well. So look, isn't it great? And leading into the summer now, hopefully we've got a good couple of months ahead of us now as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, listen, Dotsy, thank you so much for your time here this evening for the draws for the Senior A and Senior B Hurling Championship, sponsored by Go Ahead, and we're looking forward to a great couple of weeks and months, and the very best of luck to you in management with St. Olave's. They're only up the road from me here again, so I can't wish you too much luck, but in as much as I can, Dotsy, I hope you go well, and very best of luck, and we're looking forward to some cracking contests over the coming weeks and months in the Senior A and Senior B Hurling Championship in Dublin. Thanks, Dotsy. Chat to you soon.
Marcus. Talk to you soon.
Good evening, and you're very welcome to the draws for the Senior 1 and Senior 2 Football Championships for 2021, sponsored again by Go Ahead. And before we get started with the Senior 1 draw, we will just give a quick rundown of how it is going to play out. I'm here from my home, Sennon's there from his home, and we do have Mick Sievers, who's the county chairman, and Ken O'Sullivan, who's the chairman of the adult CCC in Parnell Park, who are going to draw both the Senior 1 and the Senior 2 draws for us here this evening. So there will be 16 teams in the Senior 1 Football Championship, sponsored by Go Ahead. We will have 4 groups, and we will have 4 teams seeded. Those 4 teams are Ballybowden St. Enda's, Ballymun Kickham's, Kilmacud Crokes, and St. Jude's. So, Mick and Ken, if you could start us off with the 4 seeded teams, please. And who do we have in Group 1?
Okay, Furin. Ballybowden, St. Enda's.
So, in Chéad Furin, in Group A, Ballybowden, St. Enda's.
Kilmacud Crokes.
In Group A, Kilmacud Crokes.
Ballymun Kickens.
The third group will be Ballymun Kickens
And St. Jude's.
and St. Jude. So that concludes our 4 seeded teams, and from here on in we go into the pot. And again, it's the unseeded teams, the remaining 12 teams, and we'll go from Group 1, 2, 3 and 4 from there. So can we have the second team for Group 1, please?
Raheny.
So Raheny joining Ballybowden St. Enda's. Group 2 joining Kilmacud Crokes.
Castleknock.
To Group 3 joining Ballymun.
Thomas Davis.
And to Group 4 joining St. Jude's. Lucan Sarsfields, lovely. So back we go to Group 1, and joining Ballybowden and Raheny will be Na Fianna. Looking forward to sending thoughts on that one.
St. Vincent's.
St. Vincent's in with Castleknock and Kilmacud Crokes.
Clontarf.
Clontarf joining Ballymun and Thomas Davis.
Round Towers Lusk.
And Round Towers Lusk joining Lucan and St. Jude's.
Whitehall Columkill.
Whitehall Columkill completing Group 1.
Volunteers St. John.
Volunteers St. John's completing number 2.
Skerries Harps.
Skerries Harps completing Group 3. And finally,
St. Oliver Plunkets.
St. Oliver Plunkett's Owenrua completing Group 4. So there you have it. The 4 groups in the go-ahead Senior 1 Football Championship for 2021. Sen and Connor will go straight into Group 1. We'll go into Na Fianna's group. Ballybowden, the top seeds. In there were Raheny and Whitehall Columkills.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, first of all, Marcus, you could say the 4 seeded groups, probably arguably the 4 best teams in the county over the last number of years, notwithstanding what Crokes did and Thomas Davis did, get into a county final in recent times. But that's a tight group. From the Heena's point of view, Ballybowden have been their nemesis in Championship. Didn't meet last year. Well, it was involved the year before with Desi. And Bowden beat us after extra time. And the year before that, Bowden had a quite comprehensive win against us in Parnell Park as well. And thrown into the mix there, Raheny and Whitehall. So, I suppose Na Fianna are part of the chasing pack. And Raheny will be in that chasing pack as well. And Na Fianna, Raheny and Whitehall will always expect to have one tough game because they were playing one of the top 4 teams. And that's going to make for an interesting game to Na Fianna, Raheny won't, because I can, just looking at that group anyway, it suggests that maybe it's between Na Fianna and Raheny to get the second place there, Marcus.
To Group 2, so Senan, Kilmacud Crokes, Castleknock, St. Vincent's and Ballantyre St. John's. Castleknock, I suppose Kieran Kilkenny be wetting his lips going up against Cian O'Sullivan, captained Kilmacud Crokes, but St. Vincent's and Ballantyre St. John's will have plenty to say in that group as well.
Yeah, look, that's a really, really strong group, and there's going to be a couple of intriguing ties there. Obviously, Vincent's and Castleknock met in that county final a few years ago. Castleknock have come really strong in recent years. And you have Crokes and Vincent's, and Ballantyre on their day can take a scalp. So I wouldn't be hedging all my bets on Ballantyre not winning the game either. But that's a really intriguing group. Three strong teams. It's always a matter of, for Crokes, it was always going to be who's in with them. So they won't have it easy against Castleknock or Vincent's, Marcus. And I suppose I'd expect Crokes to come out and sort of win that group, but it's going to be intriguing.
Just on that group as well, Sen, Kilmacud Crokes and Vincent's, obviously, they've All-Ireland titles, never mind county titles. But Castleknock, they're obviously an up-and-coming team, doing great guns at underage level. Kieran Kilkenny, obviously, the star of the show. But, they're just knocking on that door of a senior breakthrough and just wanting something else to get them through.
Yeah, and it's a young, fresh side with new ideas. I know the manager in the Fane, interestingly, Larry Norton, managed them to that county final a couple of years ago. And
And they
he
mixed
sort
it
of,
up nicely that year, didn't they? I mean, they were
yeah.
able to play defensive, but they were able to kind of go all out attack as well when it was needed.
Yeah, Marcus, you hit the nail on the head. They evolved quite well over the space of the couple of years he was there. I suppose, he got that solid defensive base in the first year, and then he evolved it into that attacking sort of running game with Kieran Kilkenny calling all the shots. And they pulled off a few scalps on their way to that county final. Obviously, Vincent's bet them there, but they're a young, fresh, intriguing side. And what you tend to find with a young side like that is they buy into any new ideas that a manager will bring on any given day or any given year. And that's what they have going for them, is that youthful exuberance. But when you've got close, sometimes that can bring its extra layers of pressure as well. They will expect to get into the quarterfinals or semi-finals, and if they don't, it's seen as an unsuccessful year for them. And that's just a measure of the success that they've had in recent years. And you mentioned the underage. I've gone past Porterstown on a Saturday morning, and it's as good as any of the major clubs. The Vincent Castleknock or the Vincent's Kilmacud. Which you know very well, Marcus, and the underage and North Streets they have on Saturday mornings. Castleknock is as good as any in terms of numbers. So they are the team for the future, and they'll certainly be looking for this one.
Group 3, so Senan, Ballymun, look, what's left to say about these? I mean, they've been so good, so consistent over the last couple of years. And I mean, they've got stars littered throughout the Dublin senior team at the moment. Thomas Davis, Clontarf and Skerries. Is it unfair to say that it's just a battle between the other three to see who can finish runners-up to Ballymun in that group?
Yeah, you'd have to say that. And that's a nice one for Kickham's, because it's back to what traditionally was, what we'd expect from a championship, that Dublin, we'd expect them to go on some sort of a run in championship, and then all of a sudden your Dublin players have to come back into the panel. And it's not always a seamless transition, Marcus. We've seen that when you have a lot of Dublin players. I had it my own day with the Fane when we all went back to the club. We've seen it with Crokes, and we definitely saw it with Ballymun. And if there was a test study or a case study for having your Dublin players around to train together, to adopt game plans and tactics, it was last year, really, wasn't it, Marcus, that they won the championship with everybody around. So look, that's nice for Ballymun, because it'll give them the extra few weeks, I think. Of course, they're not going to take the eye off the ball. They'll respect what every opposition brings to the table, and in terms of the other three teams, but I'd expect Kickham's to come through there, and then all of a sudden, they're in the quarter final and they found their feet a little bit. Dave's county final a couple of years ago, Clontarf and Skerries were a surprising quarter finalists there last year. So again, Kickham's, I don't think, will take their eye off the ball in terms of the opposition that's in that group.
Just a final word on Ballymun, Senan, and I think we all probably took heed of the likes of James McCarthy or Dean Rock talking. I think it was to TGCR or even DubsTV after the games, and they were saying just how much they enjoyed actually having that spell with the club and being back in there, training consistently, playing consistently, and just loving every minute of that campaign that they went on. Obviously, it was COVID enforced, the way it all played out and whatnot. And the other element is we're hopefully going to have crowds in there. So, I mean, it has to be a huge incentive for the likes of a Ballymun to try to go out there and win it in front of family and friends.
Yeah, you said it there. Last year it was a very poignant one as well. The Smalls had lost their father, and we saw the embrace of the two lads when they won it last year. So yeah, in terms of playing in front of a crowd, absolutely. Look, that's what it's all about. I don't live too far away from the Autobahn here, which is their base, Marcus. And they certainly didn't get a chance maybe to celebrate it as much as they did. We don't know.
That's what they're telling you, Senan.
Yeah, exactly. You better believe. I didn't hear that when I was driving past, and I don't want to hang anyone either. But no, that incentive, of course, is there with crowds, and for everybody, for all of us, there's a pep in our step again. It's like as if we're, are we coming towards the end of this? We have crowds at games, and even to see and hear, voices at games, National League games, it's just been amazing, So it is an incentive for Ballymun as it is for everyone.
Brilliant. Well, listen, the final group, so Group 4 in the Go-Ahead Senior 1 Football Championship for 2021, St. Jude's, the seeded team there, but Luke and Round Towers of Lusk and St. Oliver Plunkett's Owen Rua again. Just a note maybe on Oliver Plunkett's Owen Rua again, they would have been contesting for county titles for years there, and just a couple that got away from them. But I mean, like they've come out number 4 in that group, but I mean, they fancy a shot off a couple of those teams.
Yeah, you better believe it, and I suppose it was again the difficulty for Plunkett's was they had the Brogans and trying to get them back onto the panel, and work with their tactics. But yeah, Plunkett's on their day. We'll take a scalp anywhere. They've Sean Bugler now has shown great strides with the Dublin seniors. And Marcus, I teach a lot of the younger lads that they'd certainly go to my own school. St. Declan's will be in Oliver Plunkett School. And there's a lot of young, fresh talent as well there that's waiting to come into that senior side, and they're hungry for success as well. They're minors there, in the last minor championship did really well. So yeah, it's one. They'll be behind the second position there in that group in terms of coming through. And if Bernard can remain injury free and get the scores, we know what he's able to do. He definitely has young forwards around him that can do a job. Alan, I think would admit himself that the best days are behind him. But if you got 10 minutes out of Alan Brogue and you're still in the game, and you see him coming on, it's nothing else. He'll occupy 30 defenders and free up someone else.
Senan, that is brilliant. Thanks a million for your analysis of those four groups in the Senior 1 Football Championship. And we're going to go on now to the draw for the Senior 2 Football Championship, again sponsored by Go Ahead. So I think we've Mick and Ken ready to go in Parnell Park there. Again, similar to the Senior 1 draw. It is 16 teams, 4 groups of 4, but we have no seeded teams for this one. So it's a straight draw. First team out goes into Group 1, second team Group 2, 3 and 4, and on we go. So Mick and Ken, if you can take it away again in Parnell Park first there, please.
On Kate Fern. Ballybuckle.
So Ballybuckle gets us underway and they go into Group 1.
Coola.
Coola into Group 2.
Templeogue Sing Street.
Nave Olaf.
And the second team for Group 1, please.
St. Anne's.
To Group 2.
St. Maur's.
And to Group 3.
St. Sylvester's.
St. Mary's.
And the third team for Group 1.
Trinity Gales.
St. Peregrine's.
Ern's Isle.
And the third team for Group 4.
Parnells.
And the final team for Group 1.
St. Bridget's.
Nave Marno.
Fingalians.
And the final team for Group 4. Is Fingal Ravens, I think. I didn't hear it read out, but I can see it on the screen there. So Fingal Ravens, the final team into Group 4 there. Senan, I don't know where we start really with these. I mean, it's 4 competitive groups, as you'd expect in the Senior 2 Football Championship. Maybe, I'll go to Group 4. I mean, there's been a lot of talk of one Stephen Cluxton, and when are we going to see him? When are we not going to see him in a blue jersey? But, that Parnell's team that, obviously plays outfield for them, they'll certainly be looking for Cluxton to spearhead another campaign for them in that Group 4.
It certainly is, and I love watching him playing outfield, I have to say. And I know from in his early days with us when we were with Dublin, you could see the talent that he had. When he'd come out a goal with that ball in hands. But he's a phenomenal athlete. Never mind anything else. To be in the shape that he's in his late 30s, and I'm sure he's a brilliant Parnell's man. That's one thing that he did play in those games, down to the years when Parnells were, in the old format when they were probably on a hiding to nothing, playing against the Division 1 side in the early rounds. He was always there. And I think that, and overall, I suppose, when we take this package of a Senior 2 championship, I think it's fairer. If we're looking at all the groups there, it's giving everyone a good chance to go on a bit of a run here and, and win a championship, and get promoted to the Senior 1 championship as well. So Parnells are one of many teams there that can actually go on a bit of a run. The tough enough group, I know Olaf's coming up from intermediate a couple of years ago, were the tough side to beat, and Marys and Fingal Ravens have a lot of senior experience under their belt as well. So Parnells won't have it all their own way, and again, it's all about respect and respecting the opposition and what they're going to bring to the table there, Marcus.
Group 2 there, Sen, if we just focus in on it, like Coola again. A lot of talk about them as a hurling club, but I mean, like, they've got some superb footballers there as well. A lot of dual players that have come through the Closhone system, Scullercon system. But then you throw into the mix of Moors, Peregrines, Marno, Peregrines, obviously Eric Lowndes, their star, came on at halftime there at the weekend. Another intriguing group.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Marcus. Yeah, you just broke up in the middle of that, but it is an intriguing group there. And there's 2 teams that got to the semi-finals last year in that group, and that's Coola and Marno. So they'll want to see progress, and progress for them will be getting to the final. Definitely for Coola. We only bet Bridges in that final last year. I think it was 3 or 4 points in it in the end. Certainly look at progress for them would be getting to a final, and nothing below that. And then it's a battle, I think, between the other 3, Moors, Peregrines, and Marno. As I mentioned, Marno got to they got to the semis last year, and I think it was Bridget's that bet them. Bridget's got into the final, and they gave Bridget's a run for their money. So that's an intriguing group, that one as well. And there's going to be some cracking toys played out over those few weeks.
And then just the final 2 groups there, Sen, in Group 1 and Group 3. I mean, like, for me, what stands out is Temple Oak Sing Street. I mean, like, they've had inter-county talent littered throughout the Dubs senior team. Some of them are no longer playing with the Dubs, but they're certainly still playing with their club, and I mean, like, they're going to provide a handful for any team that comes up against them.
Yeah, very often what happens is when lads retire from inter-county and they go back playing with their club, you tend to see just a surge in terms of games and results and that sort of stuff. Sing Street have that. They were pipped by Coola last year in that semi-final, and they're hungry for success. Playing against them in Dolphins Barn, you never got that easy, no matter where you were coming from. The tough, strong, attritional side, and they've good players. Obviously, Dennis Bastic's still there, and Owen O'Gara back playing with the club, never mind Scully. So that they're a team that, are going to be sort of banging on the door, I think, again.
And a club wanting to go places as well, Sen. And I mean, like, obviously, there's a lot of talk of redevelopment in the area and stuff, and trying to get planning up and running. And I mean, like, a nice run just gives everyone a lift, and obviously, if you can bring the trophy or a few medals home, even better.
Yeah, you said it. What breeds success off the pitch very often is success on the pitch. Everything else just tends to fall into place when your team is doing well. It's amazing, Mark. You would have seen it, I'm sure, with Crokes down through the years as well yourself. That when you go on a bit of a run, people come out of woodwork from all around the place. From they come back from home, from the States, from England, for county semi-finals and finals. It just brings the whole community together and taps into something that you might have seen, and that's the allure, I suppose, of a club championship. To give everyone that chance to bring the community back together, and it'd be great. Look, I love them. I love playing against them. In my early years, they were Sing Street when I started playing senior football way back about 100 years ago, and they were always a tough side, to play in Dolphins Barn, and it's great to see them, develop and evolve and still produce Dublin players with Scully. But they'll be viewing success this year as a win, getting to that final and getting a win. And you'd have to say be deserved.
And just finally, sending just a word about Group 1, Ballybogle, St Anne's, Trinity Gales, and finally St Bridget's, just to wrap up that Senior 2 football championship sponsored by Go Ahead.
Yeah, Bridget's will be eager to get back to the Senior 1 championship, obviously themselves, getting to the final last year and bet by Coola, but they won't have it all their own way. Trinity Gales, Anne's and Ballybogle, they're tough opposition, and a lot can depend on who you have away from home. Bridget's will be the favourites in that group. They'll have one home game, but they'll certainly be eyeing up, that away game, and never mind the neutral one, but the away game could be tricky for them. So, as with both the Senior 1 and Senior 2, there's a load of really, really intriguing ties, and I'll be watching that one closely because Bridget's would have been a neighbouring club of mine when I was growing up, and I always watched to see how they're getting on. And again, a team like Oliver Plunkett's and Bridget's, they're sort of evolving and changing and in transition a little bit again, and they'll certainly look for success this year too. So overall, Marcus, that's going to be a cracking championship. for the neutral looking in, there's a lot of really, really good teams there. There's a smattering of Dublin players who are going to be on show in different venues all around the county, and I think that's what makes the club championship.
And again, being able to get to these games and to see them. I mean, Go games were back at the weekend. Rounds of the league were back at the weekend. I mean, it's just great to see kids, adults, everything in between as well out there and playing and poking ball and schlitters and whatever else. And have the opportunity to get to see the stars of Dublin playing with their club in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, you said it, Marcus, and you throw into the mix the weather, the hard grounds, the pitches haven't been played on in so long. It was in Movie Road there. It was on Saturday they played Clontarf. It was just a carpet, and it was just lovely to get down and just get nattering, and standing behind the goal on the fence, everyone in their same positions around the place. I know it was only 100 supporters allowed in, but it just had that lovely sort of feel about it again. It's what makes the GAA great.
You're going to polish off the boots, I get the feeling.
Not a chance of it there as well. I'm even narkier than I was when I was playing, Marcus. So
that's saying something.
Yeah, that is saying something is right.
Listen, Senan, thank you so much for your time here this evening for both the Senior 1 and the Senior 2 Football Championship draw for 2021, sponsored by Go Ahead. As I said, we will have the rest of the draws. They'll be brought to you later on this evening. But in terms of the live draws here this evening from Parnell Park and from wherever Dotsy, Senan and myself are broadcasting from as well. Thanks for being with us and enjoy the action over the coming weeks and months. Thanks a million. Slán Tamil.